Okay, well, I'm going to officially get us kicked off here and we'll start with some introductions. But first, welcome everybody, whether it's morning or afternoon. It's 2 o'clock here in Indiana Eastern Time, which is where we are headquartered. This is another one of our Passageways Presents onboard webinars. So we do these at least monthly, depending on what's going on, sometimes a little bit more frequently. And today's session is on the topic of strategies for improved board engagement, right? So we're really excited to have you join us. We're going to do a couple of introductions and then we'll do a little bit of something fun here to get us started. So my name is Jenni Washington. I am pleased to join you again from Indiana as part of the OnBoard customer success team. I am one of the implementation managers and I am joined today by my coworker, Gina.
Hello, everyone.
So Gina is also one of the implementation managers for OnBoard. That means that we start out working with all of different new clients, and we have a couple more implementation managers as part of our customer success team. And as always, we like to do housekeeping, right? That's pretty standard as part of joining these sessions. So really quick, we always get questions. Is this going to be recorded? Yes, absolutely, because we know that this is going to be really important and you guys are all very busy leading up to the holidays. So not everybody that registers can join, or you might want to share this or rewatch a segment. So absolutely, it is recorded. You have different Zoom controls available to you. We would like to try to drive you to the Q&A as much as possible. That's just an easier way for us to respond to questions and let you see our answers or let you know if we're going to answer it live. So plug those in during and throughout the session. You can raise your hand. There might even be a reaction, I'm not sure. And of course, there's the chat. So along with myself and Gina, we have a couple other of our Passageways customer success onboard team members that are going to be handling the Q&A. So if you see something coming from Karen or Brian, that's who they are. So Karen and Brian, shout out to you guys for managing that along the way. So I want to do something really kind of fun and just get you guys kind of focused. Hopefully you can put your phone away or silence it. Maybe you're not multitasking with your email. I know that can be hard, but we appreciate you focusing your time with us today. We think you're going to get some great information. I think that would be fun to learn a little bit from you guys, kind of what holiday movies are your favorite. So we're in the holiday season and would love to know, throw that in the chat. I personally am a big sucker for Hallmark movies, a little bit of a romantic, but I also love some of the popular ones that many of you guys might know. Elf, of course, going back to my childhood, I love watching the Frosty, Rudolph, things like that. But maybe I need to expand my options. I don't know, Gina, what about you? Do you have?
I like The Christmas Story. I love it.
Yes.
I love Ralphie. They're great. Yeah, it's a classic.
Yes. And I love seeing sometimes people post photos on their social media and they buy that lamp.
Yes.
The leg lamp, that's hilarious.
It's classic. You've got to have it. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so if you're still thinking about it, let us know. Oh, Charlie Brown, I love the Snoopy one. That's awesome. White Christmas. Yes. Thanks, guys, for sharing. So we definitely want this to be fun and interactive on this Tuesday. So keep those coming in. But what are we going to be talking about? So Gina and I are going to be passing back and forth a little bit today as we go through these slides. And the topics that we're planning to cover are around, of course, engagement and strategies for improving engagement. And what comes with that are some elements. There's probably a lot that we could talk about, but we've narrowed it down to the board culture and kind of creating a culture of inquiry. And what does that mean? And then Gina's going to step in and talk about how you can help your board members and new members with engagement and adoption of OnBoard. And then we'll move into some engagement strategies around your meetings, both ahead of the meeting and in the meeting. So Gina's going to work through those topics, and then I'll pick back up and show you how you can leverage some of the features to support your engagement and tie that all in. And then we'll do a formal wrap up and Q&A. But again, feel free to drop things in. Our colleagues, Karen and Brian, are going to be helping answer things along the way, or if it's appropriate, they'll interrupt and interject and let us know. And if it's timely, we'll just cover it as we go along. Awesome. So that's what we're going to be covering. We have one poll question because around board engagement, we want to know, you've attended this session with hopes of probably maybe learning some information. But we'd like to know kind of how you would rate your board engagement currently. So here's the question. I'm going to launch the poll. So I've got that slide, but now that I've launched the poll, hopefully you're seeing it on your screen. If it isn't popped up, you might have to go down to the Zoom controls and click the poll. If you're having trouble, you can type it into the chat, but try to use the poll if you would, because we're going to get some real-time statistics. So have you observed improved board engagement due to virtual meetings? So we've got about 50% of you have answered. Would love to get a little bit higher response rate so that we get a good sense. It's kind of split right now. A couple more seconds. I talked to a customer today who told me their attendance at their virtual meetings have been 100%. And I've heard, Gina, you probably heard too, that in general attendance, right? So attendance is one piece.
We don't have to do our houses, so the attendance has to be better, right? We have no
excuses. What are excuses? Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to end that. I'm going to see if I can attempt to share the results. And this is awesome, but it's kind of split. So Gina, can you see the results on the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. I just want to make sure. So you can kind of see, right? Awesome. For you guys, you 30% that said yes, board engagement has improved a great deal. We'd love for you to know kind of if you have some secret tips and tricks that I don't cover and Gina doesn't cover today. So think about sharing those out. Feel free in the chat. If you have something that we don't cover somewhat, and then no change really for the others, definitely drop in the chat. We'd love to know like why, what option do we not provide, and how your engagement's going. Just take a quick peek in here and then we'll move on. Yes, so we'll be covering some of these, Carrie and others that are putting in virtual the whole time. Awesome. So, all right, so topic number one is really around board culture. And I really felt like board culture was important to this whole discussion around engagement. So every board has an internal culture. You might not be able to identify it and articulate it, but you might want to be more intentional about your board culture. So what is board culture, right? So how your board members are communicating with each other, how they work as a team, making decisions, all of that defines really the culture of your board, how they're interacting. And it's that nature of your culture that your board has that has a really significant influence on the way that your board carries out its work, how it can shape your board's performance. So really, I think that's a good place to focus as we start strategizing around improving board engagement. So one element of having a strong board culture is possibly this concept of culture of inquiry. So culture of inquiry means really your board is fully open to differences of opinion. Everybody has different vantage points, areas of expertise, and asking kind of deep informed questions to continue to cultivate that strong collective wisdom that you have invested with the diversity of your board. So let's take a moment kind of on the slides to kind of digest some of these things. Again, the elements, having that healthy, respectful partnership. So engagement is amongst the board as much as it is between you as a board professional and your board and executives. Part of that is then building trust so that you can have candor or candid conversations with everyone, being thoughtful around issues, being willing, again, to bring those up if there's disagreements and having a way to work through those. And then, of course, having a willingness and a champion to kind of address, keep your board accountable as around engagement, around your culture, to keep things on track. So if you have things that are negatively impacting the board, do you have a method? Does the chair have a method? Does your president have a method? How are you addressing that? So let's be thinking about what is the culture of your board and how does that play a role in your overall engagement? So hopefully that's spurring some thoughts, giving you some ideas to think about, maybe a discussion topic for an upcoming retreat. So I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Gina. So as we move on to our second topic.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. So the second topic, we're going to be supporting our new board members. This is really important because you want your board member to feel confident as a board member, and especially in utilizing the OnBoard portal. So the very first thing that you want to do is help them activate their OnBoard accounts. So this is kind of a hump for some organizations, or it can be. Maybe for some less tech savvy or seasoned board members, as we call them sometimes, they may have trouble activating their account. So you might start off by just sending them an email, just letting them know that they will be receiving an invitation from OnBoard. So we do have templates that we can provide to you that you can use to invite them to the portal. These templates are housed under the Help tab of your blue navigation toolbar, down the left side of your blue navigation toolbar. And if you're not sure where those are, we would be glad to provide those to you. Just contact one of us or your CSM, your customer success manager on your account. We'll be happy to provide that to you. But send them that email, let them know that the invitation will be coming from OnBoard. It does include the link and their login information. Also, I encourage you to include a mission statement at the top of your portal dashboard. This is just a great reminder of your organization's mission, and it helps remind all of your end users or board members, why are they here? What is their end goal? And it's just serves as a reminder every time that they log in and see that at the top of your portal. You can include that in a welcome or mission statement, or if you don't have that, you can pin it in an announcement at the top of your announcements panel. So take advantage of that. Also, you can include training materials. So you do have training materials, again, housed under that Help tab. There's a wealth of information there. We have short tutorials, one-page articles, all types of information that you can use. You can create a folder, for example, a help or a training folder over in your resource library if you want, or you can place that resource item on your dashboard. You can house it in an announcement if you would like. You can get really creative about where to place that so that your new members can see it and access it very easily. Also, feel free to maybe hold interactive educational activities during your meeting. All of this just really helps your board member become more confident in using all the tools that you have provided to them in the portal. Okay, so let's just advance forward here. Let me make sure I'm on the right slide here. Am I on? Okay, so also we have some pre-meeting engagement strategies. You can create a code of conduct. This could appear maybe on the first agenda section of your meeting, and you can unnumber it so that it doesn't appear in your printed board book. Again, it's just a great reminder to your board members. You can also place this on your dashboard if you want. Next, we have agenda topics. Do your agenda topics encourage lively conversation? I always encourage board members or admins to know the other board members. So take advantage of that biography section of your board member's profile. Enter something unique about that board member so that everyone knows kind of what their background is, what their level of expertise, and maybe their talents and their experience. Let everyone know what that board member is bringing to the table. And again, just kind of foster that in the subjects so that you can have a great conversation during your board meeting. So kind of really be cognizant of that. I also recommend that you publish your board meetings consistently, at least 5 to 7 days prior to your meetings. This really gives your board members time to review the materials. And again, it helps them feel confident in the information that's provided and the information that you will be visiting during the meetings. Also, you can take advantage of the announcements or the messenger that you have in the portal. This allows for all of the communication to stay within your portal so that your board members aren't chasing information all around. Maybe they're not jumping out to Teams or out to their email to search for the information. They can easily reference it there in your announcements on the dashboard or in the messenger of your portal. Okay. Next, we have setting a deadline. Maybe if you are using paper or only printing the board packets prior to coming to OnBoard, you set a deadline. So I have a lot of organizations will say, hey, on January 15th, we are no longer going to be providing that printed board packet for your review. After that period of time, all of the materials are in the portal. They're easily accessible. Now, that doesn't mean that your board members can't easily download the book if they wanted to. They will just be doing that on their own. And you can show them where that tab is located on your meeting, where they can easily download, unless, of course, you've disabled the documents due to confidentiality. Just let them know where that tab is located in the portal. Also, you can provide maybe pre-recorded presentations for standard reports. You could always house these in the resource section of your portal. You can house YouTube videos there, links for information so that they can review this prior to your meeting. Again, this saves time during the meeting. And again, it creates a board member who's confident in the material you provided in advance of the meeting. Also, if you have the analytics as part of your package in the meeting, I encourage you to show everyone that analytics tab. They can view the meeting engagement. They can view who has logged into the meeting, not by name, but according to their role. So they can see by role, such as contributor of the meeting, admin of the meeting, reader of the meeting, who has logged in and how often prior to the meeting. So if they know that this information is available under analytics, it makes them more accountable. It makes them more likely to engage in the meeting. And again, you have created a board member who's going to be more engaged and involved in the materials that you are presenting. Also, feel free to make your committee chairs contributors of the meeting. Again, you are assigning them and giving them buy-in for the meeting so that they are also an active member of the meeting and giving their valuable information there. All right, next, I really recommend that you start your meetings at least 10 to 15 minutes early just to work the kinks out of and I call them the technology kinks out. So you're helping your board members log on, you're establishing the audio and video and making sure that you're ready to start business when it's time to start the meeting, instead of wasting that time at the beginning of the meeting. Also at the beginning of the meeting, I do recommend just starting out with a quick icebreaker, a quick story, a fun story, maybe a joke to engage everyone and pull them all in. It kind of puts everyone at ease, and it doesn't have to take long. You could actually ask all of your members to maybe describe themselves using one word. So just something kind of fun to get them all to participate and to take their mute off of their audio and jump in. So that's just kind of a fun thing. I mean, whatever you come up with, I'm sure that they will appreciate. Also, if you are board members or maybe you have individual committees and they've made an important contribution to your board, be sure to formally and openly show your appreciation to them during the meeting. Showing your members that they are valued and that their contribution is appreciated will result in them wanting to contribute again in the future. So feeling appreciated is important. I think that we can all attest to that in other areas of our lives. So they will contribute again if they're feeling appreciated. And hey, if you can give them a small token of appreciation, if it's a keychain or a gift card, that's great too, but it doesn't even necessarily have to be that. Just an open showing of your appreciation during the meeting. Just show them your gratitude. And finally, and lastly, just remember to have fun. That's what makes for a great team. And I think that here at Passageways, we have a great team. So, and I can certainly vouch for that. So we do have a lot of fun here. Maybe sometimes too much fun, Jenny.
That's great, Gina. That's so, hopefully you guys have already gotten some great tips. I would encourage those thinking back to the responses that we got to that question about, are you feeling that your board's engaged? If you find that we haven't covered something, as I mentioned before, would love to have you share that with the others that have participated today, as well as those that are going to be listening to the recording. And we'll pop those into our webinar area where we share the recording and maybe some of your tips that you contribute in the chat. So I think Gina might have to stop the remote control. Fantastic. And then, or that's fine too. So, all right, so we're kind of getting ready to move on towards the wrap up. Thanks for Karen and Brian that are jumping on anything that's in the Q&A or in the chat. Hopefully, this is, again, spurring some great ideas. So I want to round this out with some actual tips of how you can use other specific features. Gina's talked a bit about them already. Most importantly, probably is, do you know what features and capabilities you have in OnBoard, right? So we call these sometimes your OnBoard package or your OnBoard suites. Everyone starts out, just as a quick review, with core. So everyone's going to have our core access to meetings, resources, announcements, your directory, help, and things like that. Then we've bundled things together. So before I talk about some specific uses for tasks to give you guys some ideas around engagement using these features and tools, core, then governance. So governance would be if you have the actions and you can use the tools in the actions, which are approvals for voting, surveys for polls, assessments, and then the e-signature tool for electronically signing and initialing. So those are all part of our governance. And then we have our collaboration. So as you might expect, collaboration includes our secure messenger tool. So that's the two-way secure conversation that you can have. Collaboration also gives you a more robust full dashboard rather than just announcements, where you can modify and position different panels and decide what you'd like to show or hide. And they're going to be personalized and permission-based, where you can show the upcoming meetings. You can highlight things that are in your resources folder. If you have actions that are open, you can kind of pin those to the dashboard, as well as being able to, as part of collaboration, share annotations. So everyone has access to make private notes and annotations, but collaboration adds the sharing piece. And then finally, our productivity package. So with productivity, we had the most recent feature launch of Minutes Builder, and that sits within productivity. And then we also have tasks. So tasks is also part of productivity, and then meeting analytics that Gina referenced. So let's go into these a little bit more. So hopefully that just brings you some awareness if you weren't familiar with all of those packages, or you want to go back and revisit or talk to your customer success manager or implementation manager about what you all have available to you and what it might be to add things on. So we're just going to pick out a few different features to highlight around engagement. Tasks, again, part of productivity. So there are different ways to use tasks. Some of you might be on this call using tasks. Again, feel free to drop your comments in. But pre-meeting involving your committee chair or your committee liaison, or in education, your cabinet members, those people who are curating and creating the reports and presentations that go into your meetings, you can actually assign them tasks and assign them due dates and deadlines so that they get that to you if they're not contributing it directly into OnBoard. So that's one use of tasks, and there are so many. Another would be assigning, of course, action items. So during the meeting, you're taking the minutes, you make notation of different things that need to be taken care of. Those can be followed up through tasks as well. You can assign them to individuals, to groups, both as readers or assigners. And you can even link tasks to meetings. And with our Minutes Builder, you can actually create tasks right when you're writing up the minutes. So that's tasks, just a few ideas there for engagement. Surveys, right? So here again are some different examples of how you might use surveys, both kind of informally and formally. So typically, as part of responsibility and accountability, you want to do some kind of a performance review of your executive, your president, your chair, depending on the industry that you're in. So you can do those through OnBoard. We talked about board culture. So how do you know that the board is performing in a healthy, positive way and that they're engaged if they're not assessing the board and doing self-assessments, right? So those can be done as well. And then very easy and simple is if you have surveys, start doing like a quick 2 or 3 question survey at your meeting. You can actually link it to the agenda item, maybe before or at the adjournment agenda item. They go and they answer it. You want to acknowledge those comments or things that they want to see happen on the next meeting. So make sure you're acknowledging receipt of that to continue to have people contribute and engage in doing those surveys. And yeah, so you can do those. So those are a few ways that you can use some specific features. And yes, and then I passed this one here. So announcements. Everyone has announcements. And some ideas here for encouraging engagement would be anything, like Gina said earlier, that you might send out as an email. Think about, could it be posted instead as an announcement? So whether your chair or president does a brief or a memo that you would typically send out via email, perhaps you could post that as an announcement. Also, depending on your organization, if you're a fundraising organization, you need to have your board engaged in the community no matter what, right? Maybe you want to make sure that both organization events and community events are highlighted as announcements to encourage attendance. And then, as Gina said, we want to show appreciation and also show kind of unity. So welcoming your new members, maybe spotlighting them in an announcement, putting their profile picture, having them share something kind of fun and interesting about themselves and putting that as an announcement. Gina also mentioned Messenger. Messenger, if you have Messenger as part of collaboration, that's really for two-way discussion. It could be that you are sending a quick update out. It could be something that's more of a back and forth, detailed topical discussion, maybe around your strategic plan or succession planning, or it's a in-between meeting committee discussion, maybe resolving some of those action items and making progress. So Messenger is great. It will still send an email so that you know that there is something that needs your attention, but the content is held securely in OnBoard. And it's in that threaded discussion. You can come right back. You're not hunting for an email, or as Gina said, you know, not looking in Teams. So Messenger is also great as well. And then analytics, you know, transparency. We need to be, as a board, and have a healthy culture of transparency around our board responsibilities. And if you're not doing surveys, you're not doing assessments, and you're not sharing kind of the overall progress towards whether it's adoption of the meeting management software that helps with engagement or in other areas of your board. Analytics is one way specific to OnBoard that you can, again, share those anonymized, aggregated analytics. So if you have productivity, you have the meeting analytics, and anyone who has access as an invitee to the meeting can click on the analytics tab. Again, it's anonymized, it's aggregated, but it shows, like, of the population of people attending the meeting, what percentage of us attending looked at the meeting information, looked at the agenda, looked at the materials, and then maybe enlist the champion that you have, your board chair or someone, to address that if things are not where they need to be, holding people accountable. Analytics also has a global admin account. So if you really want the detailed insights into your user specific activity, like who did log in, who did not, who voted that didn't read the materials, right? Things like that, where you can then decide how best to handle that. That is going to be done through your global admin account. So if you have productivity, use analytics. If you have not set up your global admin account, be sure to reach out to your customer success manager or your implementation manager to get that done. And we're getting ready to wrap up. I just want to reach out to Karen and Brian, see if they have anything at this point that we want to answer live. We're going to get to the Q&A formally here in just a moment. Otherwise, thanks again for getting on those questions. We doing good?
Hey, Jenny. Yep.
Hey,
We
Brian.
have a couple of folks who have put in some questions for the chat.
Awesome.
So the one here that pops up, first one, Cheryl had a good question about tasks in driving engagement. If they have a new committee, and I only know the chair of that committee, is tasks the best place to put information for that committee? I would say tasks, personally, it'd be a good resource. Very action-orientated items would be an excellent use of tasks there, especially for committee and stuff. You can share that with other people in the committee or to the entire, they can be a group task. I would also say resources would be a really good use for communication, sharing documents. Between that, you can create a resource folder inside of OnBoard for a particular committee, putting in documents. Depending on your permissions and the security level of that, you could even make that give permissions to all the committee members to be admins over a resource folder, so they can add or remove documents at will themselves if they needed to, share that amongst themselves. It's a good resource. And of course, Messenger tool, if you have access to the Messenger tool, is a great way for team communications, whether it's committees or boards, within an organization securely. I did also, when you were talking about your announcements, I think also announcements can be a very effective tool for committees and subcommittees inside of OnBoard, because you can address announcements to only certain parties or groups.
Yeah, so as Brian's kind of talking through that, I'm sure you guys are hearing and gathering that OnBoard has a lot of different features and tools, and sometimes you have to really think about the use case of what you're trying to accomplish. And is it one way? Should it be two-way? Is it like action-oriented? And if you're not sure, that's where we fall, right? Our day jobs are becoming experts, and we are experts of OnBoard. We also, each of us on the customer success team, work with very specific groups, verticals, and industries, which allows us to gain knowledge from all of you over time. So again, to Brian's point, it could be something that we can talk through with you and just really find out. Plus, what is your board comfortable with? What would be easiest to train them on to start with? Could be a component of deciding what feature or tool to use. Awesome. What else do we have out there? So we'll answer some more questions. Maybe even you can share some comments if there were some comments in the chat. And then we'll just do like a quick review of what we've chatted about today.
Hi, Jenny. This is Karen. We have one question that came in from Carrie, and she stated Messenger. Her organization uses Messenger messages to the messages used to go to people's emails, but that does not seem to be happening anymore. She wants to know if there's a reason for the OnBoard system not sending messages to people's email addresses.
Okay. Yeah. So Karen, I don't know if you want to take that one and respond, or do you want me to? Either way.
You and Gina can go ahead and respond to that one.
Okay, so I'll take a stab at this. Gina, feel free to pipe in. So something probably we need to explore a little bit more, Carrie, with you. So the expected behavior when you use Messenger is if someone is not signed in to OnBoard and they receive they're the recipient of a new post, OnBoard's supposed to wait 15 minutes and send that email out. If you or they have the mobile app and you have notifications turned on, push notifications, then it'll also send that. Now, after the initial email of 15 minutes, OnBoard will know whether or not that person has still read or not read, as it were, the message, and at 4 hours, send one final reminder. So if emails are not coming in that pattern of 15 minutes, they're not already signed in, right? Which would then mean they don't get an email if they are signed in. Then we might want to check their email notification settings in OnBoard. And then from there, maybe do some additional exploration as to are other emails being sent, just not the Messenger emails or received rather. And So hopefully that gives you a couple things.
You may
Gina, other thoughts?
Yeah, you may also check your junk email. Maybe they're being redirected there for some reason. I know in the past, occasionally that's been an issue. So maybe just check that folder, make sure they're not being redirected to your junk folder.
And you may have done some of these things. So you might link up with your customer success manager and we could do some additional troubleshooting. What else, Karen or Brian?
I have a question from one of my clients that I work with, one of the banks I work with. They're facing some challenges keeping their directors engaged in virtual meetings. So would really like to, like literally making sure they're not like daydreaming or staying focused in a virtual meeting. What are good ways they can keep their board members engaged in the midst of a virtual meeting and make sure they're not opening up side panels or looking at their phone?
Yeah. Gina touched on that some, so I'll let you start out.
Yeah, so a quick survey, a quick an approval. Approval is anything that's yes, no, question, or abstain. A quick survey. You can even survey them over the content that you've just reviewed during the meeting if you want to. You can have that survey all ready and prepared. You can give it a time to automatically open during the meeting, or you can manually open it up during the meeting if you would like. But definitely work that in just to keep them kind of on their toes. They're like, oh, I've got this action that I need to address or attend to right now. So yeah.
That's really good. I mean, I think maybe not, this doesn't apply to 100% of the people on here, but certainly I can attest to, there are times where I get distracted, right? If I've got my phone on, if I've got my email up, so I think it happens to the best of us, whether we mean for it to not or not. So as Gina said, there's different things that you can do, something more overt like that, maybe just watching, like if you have the ability to see these pictures, have a team of people, right? Hopefully you're not a team of one where you're facilitating and doing minutes and, running the slides and trying to keep track of people's facial cues and body language. Sometimes you are, but of course, try to encourage people. Maybe it's part of your code of conduct or your meeting guidelines. If you don't have them laid out, first lay them out, right? Because if you're asking the question, that probably means that there's somewhat of a problem. If it's an isolated thing, who's the right person to reach out to that person, directly and say, look, it looks like sometimes you're distracted during the meetings. Of course, you can, like Gina said, pull people in. Have some questions ready to go. If it's not a survey, ask a question and call people, call on people. So those are just a few strategies. We can certainly probably provide some more, as can Brian, on this side. Hopefully that helped with a few tips. Karen, Gina, you guys want to throw some other ideas in here as well?
If they are being assigned a task, if you have the task feature, they are going to notice if they are assigned a task. That also pulls them in, and you don't necessarily have to assign them as an assigner. Make them a viewer of the task, so that gives them the responsibility to oversee that item. So they will notice that during the meeting. If they are assigned a task, they'll receive that notification.
Yeah, so Brian or Karen, feel free to chime in with any others about that specific. Or if you guys in the audience, right? We've been doing virtual meetings, even maybe pre-COVID. Some of you were doing virtual meetings or hybrid meetings. So obviously you can also be experts in this area. So if you have other tips that you want to share out, drop those in or respond in the Q&A or drop them in the chat as well. That'd be great. All right.
Most of the other comments we have are enhancement requests and how to do that. I'll just just make a general comment. Enhancement requests, we always love to hear. We know that OnBoard can always be made into a better product for you and your users. And we know that the best the best leveraging of that is coming from you, the people that work with it on a daily basis. So when you have ideas for improvement to onboard, we encourage you, reach out to your CSM and have them fill out a product change request for you. Give them an example of your use case, why that enhancement is needed, and how it could be, how it can make your life easier, as either a director or as an admin using OnBoard. Or you can also always send those requests directly to help@passageways.com. Our tech support operates that number. It's manned basically all the time, and general like enhancement requests can be sent either to your CSM directly, and they can help that get filled out, or if you want to send them directly to our tech support line, we'd love to hear it. They will fill out those product change requests, enhancement requests for you as well, and that's just help@passageways.com. Thank you much.
Thanks, Brian. Okay, so let's just kind of reflect on what we've covered today. So based on the topics we talked about, board culture. So as I mentioned early on, board culture really sets the stage as the building blocks for how people interact with each other, making sure that they understand the responsibilities and they're being held accountable. So maybe think about, can you identify what kind of culture does your board have? Are they high performing? Are they underperforming? And are you going to do something about that in a deliberate way? Also, Gina talked about how to help with member adoption, right? Just from that very initial experience of signing in, with templates. Also, don't forget that users can reset their own passwords on the sign-in screen. They can click the forgot password. We also have a few other little tips and tricks. So if you're dealing with lack of adoption from people that haven't even signed in, reach out. We've got a few other tips that we can share with you on how to get them to initially activate their account. That's for new members, but also just general member adoption of your ongoing users through board education, infusing that, making sure that your agenda topics are engaging and fostering discussion. Are you talking about risk management, succession planning, strategic planning, things like that involve the whole board or the committee, as it were, depending on how that's segmented out. And then think about those meeting strategies for improved engagement, both pre-meeting and in meeting. And again, know what product package you have or feature suites that you have. Make sure you're utilizing them if they align well to your activities. If you're not quite sure which feature might work best to support your goals and get you the end result you're looking for, that's why we're here. We're like to think that we're experts and we want to be an extension of your team. So definitely leverage the capabilities of OnBoard that you have and explore if you're ready to expand out to some of the other features like our productivity suite with minutes builder and things like that. So I think that's what we have here. I'm going to just go back to our landing page here, see if we have any final questions, comments, or from Brian, Karen, Gina, before we close out today.
Thank everybody for coming, and yeah, it was a great discussion.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. So so this webinar will be shared out tomorrow. So for everybody that registered or attended, like yourselves, you get an automatic link to that. We'll also be posting it to our community area where all of our on-demand webinars can be viewed. So if you're not sure where to get to those, reach out to us and we'll let you know. Feel free to share this out with others on your team, and keep an eye out for our monthly update emails where we let you know what's coming for future webinars, as well as in OnBoard in the help area. If you see a little red badge, there might be something new that we're trying to share with you, whether it's a webinar or a recent product update.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. We appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.